Saving for a home is not easy in the current economic climate, and it doesn't seem to be getting any easier. But what if I told you that it was possible with a few steps you probably haven't considered? In this video, I'll show you key saving concepts that help me save for a London property in just 18 months, and you can copy these exact concepts to buy your own home. There's a famous quote of fail to plan, plan to fail. So you need to first plan and understand exactly how much you need to save. You can simply do this by dividing the amount you need to save by the number of months that you want to spend saving. Obviously, you need to be realistic. So if you're earning 25k, don't have a goal of saving 100k in 24 months because it's just not going to happen. You can work out how much you need to save by understanding the price range of your desired properties and working with a conservative 10% deposit plus a few thousand for solicitors, surveys, etc. which for ease we can say would be £5,000. Once you have your monthly saving goal, you can then work backwards and figure out how to achieve it using the tips that I'll cover. For my own monthly number, I changed this number several times as it started out too ambitious. So don't be afraid to run several different scenarios with different figures, or change it after a month or two of saving. I'm very vocal about focusing on improving your daytime job pay before trying to start side hustles and passive income streams. This is because you spend most of your time at work, and it's likely where you're developing your core competency skills, so it makes sense to progress yourself in this area to grow your salary. Also, when it's time to apply for a mortgage, any bank will be using your salary to work out the multiple as to how much to lend you. So by increasing your salary, this will not only directly impact how much you can save, but also how much you can borrow from the bank. Increasing your salary can be done in several ways, including moving companies, promotions, or moving into a new career, all of which I have done. So dust off your CV and see what's out there in the market, as your 9 to 5 is likely going to be the biggest contributor to your house deposit and overall affordability. Now, I already had skills in the online world which I could leverage into making additional income. Affiliate marketing is where you sell other companies' products, and for each sale, you receive a cut or commission percentage of the sale. The benefit of this is that you don't need to worry about inventory, returns, or customer service, and you can just focus on acquiring customers. I mainly acquired customers by building websites that attracted traffic through SEO to funnel these users throughout the vendor's website, where hopefully these users will then convert and generate me a commission. I did this for 18 months and eventually successfully sold the website, which then contributed around 15% of the total deposit that I accumulated. I would recommend starting a side hustle if you already have the skills to monetize, especially if they're digital skills such as web design, marketing, graphic design, etc. Alternatively, offline skills can also be just as lucrative, such as gardening, pressure washing, carpet cleaning, etc. If upskilling or getting a new job isn't an option within your 9 to 5, then you could also look at getting an additional job on the weekends. I've always advocated for getting an additional job before a side hustle, especially if you don't already have the skills for a side hustle. A side hustle can take months if not years to begin bringing in money, whereas an additional job will bring in money from day one. There are plenty of casual weekend or evening jobs in warehouses, security, retail, etc., which are often flexible. You only need to do it while you're saving for your property, so it doesn't need to be a long-term solution. If you're like me and aren't lucky enough to live at home with family, then it's likely that you'll be spending around 50% of your salary on rent. So reducing this is going to have the biggest impact on your savings, especially in bigger cities where rent prices can be huge. Like most people, my preference would be to live alone, and it was incredibly tempting to strike out and do this, but it would have been a struggle and probably tripled the time needed to save the deposit. Even though it could be great living with people, the peace of mind that living alone brings was a big goal of mine. Higher quality housing is more expensive, but of course cheaper housing means that you can save more money. However, from experience, housing that's too cheap often caused more headaches as things would break. But I had higher tolerance to these issues as I had the end goal in mind at all times. So you need to strike the balance between cheap and livable and cheap and non-functional, especially if you're still working from home because you'll be spending much of your day there. Ideally, you also want to find a place that has the bills included in the rent, which will make budgeting much easier when you know how much is coming out each month. Always try to negotiate with the landlord to get a better deal, and look at places further out from the city centre or rent the smallest room in the property to decrease your rent. Food delivery apps were one of my biggest vices. After a long day of work, even when I had food in the fridge, it was still too tempting to order food to be delivered. Instead of completely wiping them out, I decided to limit myself to 4 per month, or 1 per week, which was more manageable. I also recommend creating a meal plan that you can stick to. There are various meal prepping services, but this can also rack up costs and doesn't account for all the meals in a day. But it's a good starting place if you have no cooking experience, and you can always use their meal ideas for inspiration. So eventually, I settled on a plan where I cook all my meals at home, including cooking more than one portion, so I don't have to cook every day, which reduces the chances of ordering on one of the apps. Savings account interest rates were in the gutter when I was saving, so I needed a way of beating inflation. If you can't beat inflation, then over time, the money you save will decrease in real value. Investing is essentially a way of buying a percentage of a listed company with the hopes that the company rises in value over time, thus making your investment return grow. There are several investment vehicles. However, I don't consider myself a Warren Buffett, or I'd be working for an investment bank with a few houses already. I'm generally quite risk averse when it comes to investing, so I kept it simple and invested in index funds, which historically have generated returns that I'd be happy with over the long term. When you put your money in index funds, that cash is then used to invest in all the companies that make up the particular index, which gives you a more diverse portfolio than if you were to buy individual stocks. I would not recommend investing if you're trying to buy a home in under 5 years, but to save quickly, there will need to be some risk taken. In my case, the returns were 15% over 12 years, but this could have gone either way, so I was lucky in this sense. The Lifetime ISA is a government-backed initiative that has been created to help you either purchase your first home or save for a retirement fund. Each year you can deposit a max of up to £4,000 per year, and the government will top it up by 25%. So if you pay the max level of £4,000, you'll be rewarded with a £1,000 bonus, taking your total up to £5,000. By topping this up each year, this can make a real difference to your saving goal. The maximum property value that your LISA savings can be used towards is £450,000, and it needs to be located in the UK. So this is important to consider if you live in an area with high property prices like London. It also needs to be a home that you plan to live in and not rent out. It's also great if you're buying a property with another person, because you can both open up LISA accounts and combine your savings and bonus towards your house deposit. In 18 months, I was able to get £3,000 in top-up bonuses. Now, social spending is the one area we all hate to cut money from. In London, you can spend £20 on a single cocktail, so this can quickly rack up to an expensive night. I had to make a deliberate effort to stop frequent nights out, as this was adding hundreds of pounds each month. This is all about balance though, so you need to prioritise events that are important to you, such as weddings and birthdays. It also doesn't mean that you have to stop going out altogether, but it might mean that you have to make more affordable suggestions to your friends, such as a night in with shop-bought drinks instead of the local pub. Especially if you live in a major city where there's plenty of cheaper things to do, such as parks, walks, or barbecues. It's hard to miss social events, but you'll be surprised how quickly the time goes. And trust me, in the space of a couple of years, you won't miss anything, and your body will also thank you for it. You need to create a budget and stick to it. This means listing out all your outgoings and incomings so you can clearly see where your money is going. Even if you suddenly make more money, then you'll probably still have these issues if you don't understand how to manage and budget your money. Using a simple budget template doesn't need to be time consuming, and once you set it up, it's like clockwork each month, especially if you normally spend similar amounts on similar things each month. First, you need to list down all your income so you have a clear picture of how much your budget needs to work within each month. Then calculate the total monthly expenses that you're responsible for each month, for example, rent, phone bill, car fuel, etc. Now you have all your expenses laid out, you need to start making cuts in your essential and non-essential expenses, which will depend on your overall savings goal. It will be difficult to make cuts to fixed costs such as rent or council tax. Essentials are things that you need as a bare minimum to survive, such as your water bill, whereas your non-essentials will be things such as Netflix or takeaways. For this task, it's important to have a goal for what you're trying to achieve with your budget. Then you could be more ruthless with the expenses that you keep or remove. You need to get to a point where your income and expenses are equal. Even if you're saving and investing, that will go into your expenses column, so every penny of your income needs to be accounted for. So these are the main concepts that I combined together, which helped me get to my savings goals quicker.